Greetings everyone to this Facebook live teaching. I would like to send my best wishes to my new friends and also to my old friends. To my all new friends, I would like to say hello, and also to my old friends from around the world. So today I would like to talk a little bit about the initiation, and before I talk about this particular topic, I would like to take a little moment of appreciation and gratitude to all the masters from the different traditions around the world. So let's everyone take a 3 long breath. Whoever is watching this, I want everybody to take 3 long breaths. sometime, as you probably know, these three long breaths sometime actually can change a life. Some time ago, I was doing my little practice, and this three long breath actually had a really good kind of a feeling. It's almost changed your whole entire perception. So sometimes it's very important to take that three long breath. And this particular topic that I'm going to share with you all, first of all, I would like to a little bit talk about myself. I was born and raised in Nepal, so naturally I am practitioner of Buddhism, Hinduism, and shamanism. And coming to the United States, I feel very much drawn to more Native Americans, indigenous culture, because it helps to root back to the nature. And this particular subject I wanted to share with you all, and it can be maybe some clarification for someone, and maybe it can be also some confusion, or it can be maybe questioning to someone, meaning the meaning of initiation. Because a lot of the time when the system, the culture and religion and the philosophy and the practices are built, they really become more kind of a dogmatic. It can become very like a system. And it is good to have a system, but at the same time, it is also not good to have system. So it's a balance between the wild and the discipline. And so some people might be questioning that, do we need a teacher? Do we need a teacher to practice a spirituality, or particularly Buddhism? Do we need a teacher to practice Buddhism? That is a very big question, and I am not. I might not say I'm an expert of explaining all the intellectual thing, because I didn't grow up with the intellectual understanding. I'm more kind of a wild kind of a practitioner. So I must say there might be more profound intellectual explainer beside me. There might be more. I think. What happened to this? Let me check with the sound. Is the sound okay? All right. Anyway, there might be more profound intellectual explainer than me about this topic, what we call the initiation in Buddhist philosophy, initiation in Buddhism. So what does it really initiation means? Do we need teacher? I think in my own understanding of initiation about do we need a teacher to practice the Buddhist philosophy, I must say that you might need, or you might also not need. So there is a two kind of perspective of initiation. Do you need to be initiated by some teacher in Buddhism? The answer is the two, yes, and also no. Yes, because it's always nice to get initiated by some teachers, some masters, and some realized being. But at the same time, what if you don't have access to the teacher? Or sometimes they say, when you are ready, the teacher will appear, and when you are fully ready, the teacher disappear. That's the That's the some kind of a saying goes. So the question is like, do we need to have a teacher in initiation? And what does it really mean of initiation? So in my own understanding of Buddhist philosophy, and in general in Buddhism, the initiation means to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. And so the question is, what is the Buddha? Where are we really taking refuge? What is really we're taking refuge on? What is really initiation means? So the Buddha, when we take refuge in the Buddha, which we call the Buddham Saranam Gacchami, or in the Tibetan is a Sangye La Kyapsum Chö. When we taking refuge, also of course there are external many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas around the world, but at the same time we're taking refuge within ourselves, because we are the Buddha. In our essential nature, we are the Buddha. And what is the Dharma? So Dharma is the actions that we do. Any actions we do, that's also called Dharma. And the proper action can be when we take refuge in a Dharma, it means we are initiating ourselves in the path of what you call the altruistic actions, which means we do things with the more kindness. And Sangam Saranam Gacchami. Sometimes we say Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dharmam Saranam Gacchami, Sangam Saranam Gacchami. So we have Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. So these three jewels, when we say we take refuge on and we take initiated ourselves, because there might be some kind of a questions. Because what happened is, a lot of time when this teacher-student relationship and the dogmatic and traditions, and when they are in very much system, sometimes it also can make you very good practitioner, but at the same time it can also make your mind very, I think, very narrow mind. I think we might know there are many people who are considered to be spiritual, and can be very narrow-minded, making themselves that whatever their practice is the best practice in the world, and there is no any other practice. And this is what I really want to share. The initiation in Buddhism is also to initiate ourselves into the bigger understanding beside limited self. Limited understanding of the mind. When we initiate ourselves into Buddhism, we are allowing ourselves to understand the multiple different philosophy. When we initiate ourselves in Buddhist practice, we are also initiating ourselves in the world that you cannot really satisfy. There's a world cannot only. It is impossible to have only Buddhist people in the world. It is impossible to have only one kind of Hindu people in the world. It's impossible to have. It's impossible to have one kind of people in the world or one kind of tradition, because there are many. Like, see my hair? How many hair there is? Many hair. It's representing the many different traditions. There are many indigenous cultures and traditions in the world. So when we initiate, what is the really meaning of initiation in Buddhism? It's to initiate ourselves into the bigger understanding from the limited narrow mind. That's why when we say Buddham Saranam Gacchami, when we take refuge in the Buddha, this means we are taking refuge in the cosmic energy, because the nature of the Buddha, it is not limited into one thing. That's why in a lot of time when we hear, sometimes they call it I don't know, it's in Zen or in something, it's called like, if you find Buddha, kill him. And that's a very strong statement that can be very offensive, defensive by many people. But at the same time, the true understanding of explanation of that is, because do not try to find Buddha outside. Do not try to uh, find the Buddha outside, but use your every effort, use your every practices, use your everything to find the Buddha within yourself. There are many, many realized beings, many, many masters and stories like great yogis like Tilopa, Naropa. Tilopa was the great yogi, Mahasiddha, and his attendee was Naropa, and also like Milarepa, who is considered to be a murderer, saint, become saint, a murderer who became saint, and the teacher is Marpa Lotsawa. And the interesting thing about the great teacher in the world, it's about they actually make a great teacher. So there is a I think when I was 14 or 15, um, I wrote a quote that says, "A great teacher create a great teacher. A great teacher do not create the follower. The teacher actually create the teacher. That's the real meaning of the teacher. The guru actually produce the guru. Guru doesn't only produce the chela. Guru doesn't only produce the student. The real guru doesn't create the follower. The real guru doesn't create the follower, but the real guru actually creates the guru, because it is about giving the teachings to the person who is reliable, who is able to receive it. So that's why all the teachers, I might say I follow this teacher for 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 60 years, that teacher, we follow this teacher and that teacher, but are we really applying the teachings in our life? That is the most important part. It's not about we follow this teacher or that teacher for this long or that long time, but to be really apply the teaching in our daily life. That is the true meaning of initiation. Because I have experienced that sometimes we say, oh, I follow this teacher for 30 years, I follow this teacher for 40 years, for many long time, and sometimes suddenly something happened. You might even start hating that teacher. One beautiful, not beautiful, but one incident, what happened is the great teacher, one of the teacher, his name is Sogyal Rinpoche, and he was a very well known, he's still very well known in the I think it's more in the Western world, and in the Tibetan Buddhism. He got in trouble with the sexual scandal thing, and there was a lot of people who used to follow him, and suddenly something happened, and the people start hating him. And so there's the external things. It's always it's kind of a changing. That's why even Guru Padmasambhava, his teachings, a lot of time they say that do not stay in a same place for a long time, because you will find default even in the Buddha. So the process of initiation in Buddhism is to really initiate your own spiritual path, and that's why we create these usually Thangka paintings, is to create the sacred space wherever we are considered to be the most sacred place in the universe. And for that we need to create, we need to be. And some people might be a little confused with my teaching. Some people might be a little more clear with my teaching, because this Facebook thing, it's gonna go anywhere in the world, and it's gonna there are more intellectual people, there are more expert teacher, there are more realized beings, there is more knowledgeable beings than I am, and I'm sure it can be maybe some clear for some people, but it can be also question for some people, because there are some time the system is really built on really like kind of a doctrine, the system. But I want to be very clear with everyone here also, that a Buddhist philosophy is not limited. A Buddhist philosophy is not somebody's property. It actually can be practiced, and it can be practiced by anyone who is on the journey of understanding one's own self. And because I really value the nature practice as also one of my fundamental practice and teachings, and for that reason I have embodied or more initiate myself into the shamanism, which I really feel honored to be part of it, and I'm taking full responsibility to whatever action I'm doing to make this earth, to contribute my body, speech, and the mind into more in the way that is aligned with the mother nature. So I got an opportunity to share the teaching about Buddhism and shamanism in San Francisco. So it was very well received, and it was I feel really blessed to be able to share with the Buddhism and shamanism, and hopefully in the coming days I will be able to create a space where one can practice to connect back to the elements, and so I wanted to also go live to talk about the meaning of initiation in Buddhism. So the answer of all those this talk, in conclusion, I want to make sure that you yourself is the teacher. You yourself is the Buddha. We all have even the Christian, they say the kingdom of heaven is within. So there's a lot of philosophy, a lot of culture, a lot of religion that really talk about going into yourself, going inside yourself, and so it's really going inside. So one of the fascinating things about life I'm experiencing is there are many different wisdom. I used to think like there's only wisdom being in the in the limited traditions, but I realized that actually the wisdom being exists in many different traditions, many different philosophy, many different tribe that we don't know, and so I feel really honored to be able to experience. And sometimes there might be little question about do we need teacher to become Buddhist? Yeah, and again, I would like to answer this question into saying like yes and no. You might need a teacher, which is good, but at the same time, you do not need a teacher. Taking refuge, which is Buddham saranam gacchami, to my enlightened nature within myself. Dharmam saranam gacchami, the wholesome, the good action qualities that I embody. Sangam saranam gacchami, to the infinite beings who are on the path. To the infinite beings who are on the path. So this is, you can actually take refuge and you can initiate to become Buddhist wherever you are in the world. So so for saying that, I would like to thank everyone, despite of this busy time, join in this teachings, and this will be, I think I will be able to post this in the Facebook, so you will be able to see it, and I hope this is some clear for some people and maybe a little confused for some people, but my best wishes for everyone initiating in the path, because Buddhism means initiating to understand oneself. Saying that, I would like to offer my flute. Hope you will enjoy, and thank you for joining the live. May the precious bodhicitta arise where it has not arisen, and where it has arisen, may it not be decreased, but increase more and more. Wow. May you all have a wonderful time, and thank you for joining the live.